Here we are, doing this lore series for over a year, and finally reached the end of part 1. And to think, everything we've seen Navigator go through in this insane journey, it's only been a prelude to much bigger things that comes later down the line. To my best guess, by the time I get this video out, 2.5 anniversary is likely around the corner, to which I wanted to be done with all of part 1 before then. With that being said, let's take a look at what Navigator and his companions go through in this final episode of part 1. Also, quick note, it came to my attention that I've been saying Scummer's name wrong this whole time, to which I'll be correcting it to Schumer, pretty much always guessing how some of these names are pronounced until I hear otherwise. And sorry if I'm sounding a little off more than usual, I'm still recovering from a cold, but with that being said, let's get right into it. We start off the episode by going back to the Lamopolis Medical Center, where we see Phyllis sneaking around in order to meet with Vivian, giving her a report about what she was able to find about Forsaken, which wasn't much except for the usual that includes Forsaken being considered dead since the fire that happened 9 years ago, and how there was corpse of Eclipsites and Orions discovered afterward. When Phyllis heard about Forsaken implanting a seed inside Navigator's body, she figured she was doing a similar research back then. Phyllis then go on to mention how the Grand Marshal took all the Legion commanders and held a meeting, indicating some sort of preparation going on that we don't know about yet. After that, Phyllis decided to stay with Vivian until they hear back from Vice and the others. Back in Arrowville, everyone was discussing about whether to follow Forsaken or not. Sensor thinks they should chase after her, but Carlene suggests calling reinforcement first. This led to them going back and forth arguing. Bopper suggested if Navigator could read Forsaken's mind in order to know what she's planning, but he said his powers wouldn't work on Forsaken, more than likely her being too strong for him to even do it. In the end, they decided to go after her. Inside, Avidus was a complete mess, heavily damaged by the blast from Damocles and expanding its energy. Not to mention, it's filled with so much dark flow that Navigator has a bit of a hard time breathing. While dealing with Eclipsites that they ran into, Vice asked Navigator to try to use his psychic powers once again to scout ahead and avoid being ambushed. As he did, he can tell that the dark flow seems to be concentrating somewhere. That's when he saw the horrifying image of Schumer eating Eclipsites, causing him to break concentration and practically throwing up from the sight. Moving over there and changing scenes, we see Schumer slowly making a recovery as Forsaken had her eat Eclipsites, allowing Schumer to absorb their dark flow. Forsaken also told her about navigating others arriving at Avidus looking to kill her, which caused her to continue eating more Eclipsites, looking forward to his arrival to completely erase him this time. Back where the others are, Navigator told him how he saw Schumer eating Eclipsites, wanting to quickly hurry and get to her, but Vice and Sensor had him take a quick rest as he was clearly not looking well. After getting rid of some Eclipsites at the same time, Navigator let the others know that Forsaken and Schumer were most likely in the same place, causing the group to make their way further inside Avidus. While they were making their way in, they eventually ran into a much stronger Eclipsite. This turned out to be a revived Boredom, the fusion of the sisters Celt and Sire back in episode 4. Forsaken revived them just like she did with Madhorn in the previous episode. Carlene advised to hurry and put them out of the misery as they was clearly in a lot of pain. Once they was dealt with, Carlene had their body burnt in order to avoid them being revived again. When that was done, Navigator used his psychic powers again to scout ahead. This time, he started to pick up a dreamlike vision of the past. Taking place back from where we left off in the last episode, Schumer had returned and was getting chewed out by her professor, Hondro. She explained how they made a bet with her and got killed by Eclipsites, leaving out the fact that she made a deal with them to eradicate her race. After explaining what happened and arguing with Hondro, Schumer ended up being locked up until her punishment was decided. Before he left, Hondro gave her a book from Mendelssohn titled Ada and the Colossus, an Arrowville fairy tale about a girl who travels the world with her Colossus. A story with fascinating things in it that I may one day dedicate a video to with other books within this game. As Schumer had opened the book, a key had fell out of it, indicating Mendelssohn gave it to her to escape. Fast forward into the dream, Schumer had escaped prison and began to implement the plan given by Fitzgerald, destroying all the Colossus power cores except for the Avidus. Once she was done with that, she arrived at Avidus, destroying its Echo template before taking control of it. After that, Fitzgerald was communicating with her through telepathy, letting her know that an army of Eclipsites are on their way to Arrowville, and that she has the task of bringing any of her fellow Calcites to him to give them the power of the seed as well. Schumer mentioned to him that she was starting to feel weird, as he explained that it was the power of the seed beginning to take shape, transforming her into the Schumer that we currently see. Later, we start hearing panicking. Mendelssohn was walking around confused on what was going on. That's when he ran into the transformed Schumer. She came to him to give him a chance to join her side, letting him know that the end of their people was coming. Fitzgerald even arrived himself to give him the power of the seed. Changing scenes, Hondro and other Calicites struggled to take down a single Eclipsite, while also being told about more invading from the east side. Schumer then appeared before him, offering him to come join her side just like she did with Mendelsohn. But Hondro immediately had her seized and locked up within a hidden room. Not too long after that, the Eclipsites had fully invaded Airville, as they were killing all the Calicites left and right. Through all the chaos, Hondro had managed to find a scared Mendelsohn. Relieved to find a survivor, he took Mendelsohn and ran to where the Colossus Mantis was, trying to encourage him to pilot it and make his escape while he distracts the Eclipsites. Schumer, no longer having anyone else to make offer to, decided that it was time to witness Judgment Day with her own eyes. After that, Navigator finally snapped out of it and told her others about what he saw, about the destruction of Airville and the Eclipsite Fitzgerald who led the assault. He also informed them that more Eclipsites were coming, preparing for another wave of enemies, and continues to go forward. Back to where Forsaken and Schumer was, Forsaken was told that the Orions were getting closer to their location. As Schumer was still not ready, she decided to egg her on to speed things up, hitting her sore spot about losing to Navigator and not fully letting go of her pride as a Calistite. This fumed Schumer, as he decided more power from Forsaken. At the same time, the group could feel a rumbling going on around them. Navigator pieced together that this most likely has something to do with Schumer, with more Eclipsites coming at them. This is also true for the True Order members who are in another part of Avidus, having had collected enough seeds and decided to make their way out. Navigator's group in the meantime was becoming swarmed with Eclipsites, as more and more kept coming. That is until an awakened Schumer appeared before them, attacking the Eclipsites and devouring them. Wasn't even paying attention to Navigator and the others, but once he finished devouring them, that's when she finally turned his way. Not within her right mind, all she could think about was killing Navigator. With no other option, our group becomes engaged in a fierce battle against a more powerful Schumer, who they were struggling against during the entire battle. Eventually, Schumer managed to regain her sanity, determined to do nothing but to erase Navigator and his friends. But to everyone's surprise, Forsaken came in and interrupted their battle, tearing the seed out of Schumer as it had finally matured. Sansa attempted to stop her, but once again gets overpowered, which honestly, I just feel bad for him at this point. She just keeps treating him like a straight father. At least my boy's not easily demotivated. Once Forsaken left, Navigator confronted Schumer and asked where the 3 modules were, to which she refused to tell him. Eventually, Navigator couldn't put up with her anymore and ignored her, having Vice help search for the modules himself and making sure everyone else was okay. Schumer, after insulting the Calistites she killed once again, forced him to bring his attention back to her. This time he demanded her to tell him about Fitzgerald and the Eclipse, but while Schumer tried to get Navigator to come closer, a bunch of Eclipsites showed up. Schumer, thinking she had won, didn't realize until it was too late that the Eclipsites turned on her, beginning to devour her like she did them. As Navigator and the others began to retreat, he started to sense her final thoughts, as she was cursing him a horrible death just like her, and that the Eclipse are here. So much was going on in the Navigator's head. Between Schumer's death and hordes of Eclipsites chasing them, he was so lost in thought as Vice and the others was calling out for him to snap out of it. Eventually regained himself and started giving proper commands, but even still, they were in a dire situation as more and more kept coming. Just when things was looking hopeless, in comes the other Resurrect members coming in to save them, taking out the surrounding Eclipsites with ease. As things finally began to calm down, Sansa discussed with Navigator about what to do with Avidus. Navigator is one of the 3 modules and let him have the rest. Before going their separate ways, Sansa, knowing he's been through a lot both physically and mentally, gave him some encouraging words before he and his gang left with Avidus. Fast forward, Navigator was thinking about his entire journey since he left that underground cave, about the people that he met, both friends and enemies. Sitting inside the bridge, connecting the think tank model to Siraj, trying over and over again to connect. As he does that, Vice and Carlene was waiting outside, giving him space, discussing about what all transpired and what they still need to deal with. Forsaken, Fitzgerald, Eclipse, their battle was still far from over. Vice was becoming worried for Navigator as he still hasn't come out. She was going to go inside to check on him, but Carlene suggested to call out to him instead. wanting to respect the fact that he wanted to be alone. As soon as Vice called him, the think tank model connected to Siraj's echo template, giving him hope that he may be able to fix Siraj. Finally, the scene changes over to an Illumina base. Sharona was reporting to Reinhardt about everything that went on with navigating and his journey in Araville, from defeating Shuma to letting the resident Rents take evidence. From their conversation, it's clear that the Grand Marshal has become very interested in our main character, bringing us the end to episode 10. Not just reading the end of episode 10, but also the end of part 1. It's just a wild journey Navigator has been through, experiencing the world for the first time, meeting new people, the new places he went to. Even though there were some hardships for him since leaving that underground cave, one thing's for sure, he doesn't regret leaving and taking a step into the outside world. And there is still more story for us to go through, as despite everything that happened so far, his story is only just beginning. And before jumping into part 2, we have a special interlude that kicks everything off into the wild adventure we're in now. Thank you for sticking with me as I continue exploring the incredible lore of this game. Although I still plan on continuing to go over the main story, there are still many things to go over within this game, whether it be through the story events, books, character profiles. Alchemy Stars has such an amazing world to it, and I plan on sticking with it until the very end. Hope you guys are enjoying these lore videos. Until next time, may the truth bless you.